Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com. And there is Mildred. There she is. Hey, Mildred, hiding behind the gong there. So I can't whack the thing because it'll scare her to death and she'll go running away. And I don't like to scare my cats. Oh, I think there's a toy back there. I heard that, Mildred. All right, we can play fetch later. Anyway, we're talking about Martinu. Yes, lots and lots of Martinu. Oh my goodness, we have so much Martinu, and it's so much fun to go through this stuff. What do we got here? The Epic of Gilgamesh, another one. I just talked about the Kozler recording in the previous video, which is on Naxos. This is the super fun recording with Jerzy Bilohlavek. There have been others since. The piece is slowly making its way. Yes, dear? Okay. Slowly making its way into public consciousness. Very slowly, extremely slowly. And I'm desperately afraid that it's going to be even slower because Superfun was purchased by Sony, I think. And God knows what's going to happen to their catalog of great Czech music. I have no idea what the deal was there. But hopefully some of this stuff will survive and maybe we'll get a big Martinu box. I know the Martinu Society in Czechoslovakia is always pushing, but how... Maybe someone can tell me what's happening. I wish I knew. Anyway, it's a wonderful performance of a masterpiece. Everybody hears it and goes, whoa, this is really cool. And then nobody pays any attention. Pisses me off. Next, the piano quintets and the sonata for two violins and piano with Karol Kosharek, there we go, and the Martinu quartet on Naxos. These quintets are wonderful and very different. 1933 is the first. It comes from his neoclassical period. And 1944, the second one, which is the same years as the symphonies. So the style has quite evolved between numbers 1 and 2, and they're just wonderful works. They really is. Chamber music's terrific. The sonata for two violins and piano dates from 1932. It's in 2 movements, and it's one of those another sort of neoclassical confection, very busy and full of fun syncopations, and oh gosh, I just love this stuff. I mean, it's all just so enjoyable, and even when it's deeply pathetic and sometimes gnarly, it's always moving and busy and in a good way. It's vibrant, terrific. Then we've got this wonderful Raphael Kubelik disc on Testament. These are old recordings, some of them in dreadful sound. We have, the Bartered Bride Overture, Polka, Furient, and Dance of the Comedians. I just heard the Dance of the Comedians in a Roadrunner cartoon. The last Chuck Jones Roadrunner recording used a score that was heavily based on the Dance of the Comedians, and it was really, really good. Dvorak's Legend, Opus 59, number 10, and the Scherzo Capriccioso. These were recorded in 1951, the others in 52, 53. The Martinu Concerto for two-string orchestras, piano and timpani, 1951. Ooh, that's a great piece. It's a anguished, tense, exciting, scary piece of music. It's fantastic. And Janáček's Sinfonietta from 1947 in positively dreadful sound. The Sinfonietta is with the Czech Philharmonic from 47, before Kubelik left the Czechoslovakia when the communists took over. And the rest of it's with the Philharmonia. And the sound is better on those. But they are really, really fun. I mean, the music is great. These performances are okay. And, Kubelik, remember something about Kubelik it's worth pointing out. He developed over the years. There's a lot of controversy about his time in Chicago because Claudia Cassidy hated him, and they said that, her argument was he wasn't ready for the job. But, she was kind of right. And when he got to Bavarian radio is when he really, blossomed as an interpreter. These earlier recordings, they're good and solid, but not special. It was the interest of the repertoire, actually, his passionate devotion to Czech music and to these composers that made them noteworthy in their day. Then we've got, pictures, the Long Beach Symphony Orchestra under Joanne Falletta, back in her childhood. It's the Respighi Botticelli pictures, Martinu's frescoes of Piero della Francesca, and pictures at an exhibition. Look at that, with the Long Beach Symphony and on Albany. This is actually a good disc. It really is. I mean, I always thought Joanne Folletta was the real deal. And, discs like this only prove the fact. This was recorded in 2000. And it's enjoyable. And, Martinu, back in 2000, wherever you could get Martinu, you got. And I got this on Albany, so I was very happy to have that. Then we got, let's see, works for violin and orchestra on Arte Nova with the Wiener Symphoniker, conducted by Marcello Viotti and Jan Pospichal and Florian Zweiauer. Yeah, we have the duo concertant for 2 violins and orchestra, the second violin concerto, which is a big, romantic, heavy-duty work. Beautiful piece. I think it was written for Misha Elman. I think that's the one that was. I could be wrong, but I think that's the one. And the concerto for 2 violin and orchestras. Oh, I love that. The slow movement has the most delicious opening theme. It's cha-da-dum, dun-dun-dun, da-da-da, dun-dun-dun, bum-bum-ba, da-da-da, dun-dun-dun, bum-bum-bum. Then the violins come in. Ya-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-dum, bum-bum, ya-da. Then they switch parts. Oh, gosh, it's amazingly wonderful. It really is. These are very fine performances. The main competition is on Hyperion, the complete works for violin and orchestra, a 4-disc set. So, can't find that. This'll do you. It really will. Then we've got, Carl Ancerl and the Toronto Symphony on CBC. Martinu's 5th. And includes applause. They're live. And Beethoven's Pastoral. Well, the Beethoven is not all that special. And the Martinu 5th is very good. I mean, Ancerl recorded it, of course, for Supraphon, but it was in mono, I believe. Wonderful performances. I mean, he was a big devotee of Martinu's music, so whatever he could do is good. The Toronto Symphony was not fabulous back in the day, in the 1960s. This is... does it give me a date? It should, but I don't see it. I don't see. Well, this was released in 2000, but of course the recordings are much, much earlier. Let's see if I can find out when it was. Now, here they are, looking somewhat, I don't know. I mean, Ancerl, after he left Czechoslovakia, he said, I would like to have in Toronto the best orchestra in the world. Yes, of course, but he never quite got it. Let's not kid ourselves. Yeah, okay. Where is this? He died in 1973. Okay, early 1970s. Yeah, it looks like it was the early 1970s. Wait a minute, here we go. Oh my God, why can't they just make my life easy? I swear to God, I just give up. Anyway, it was around then. It was before Ancerl died. How's that? For limiting the thing. Anyway, I collected Ancerl, and I still do, but his Supraphone recording is superior because the orchestra is just better. And then finally, another opera. We've had tons of operas. Mirandolina, and it's in Italian. It's a comic opera after Carlo Goldoni, the Commedia dell'arte guy. Carlo Goldoni. The opera is La Locandiera. I mean, that's been set by all kinds of people. The landlady thing. It's kind of cool, actually. And let's see how we got Commedia Carriari, Cameo Conte, Cavalier Marchesi, di Forlin Popoli, and whatnot. It's the National Philharmonic Orchestra of Belarus under Riccardo Frizza. The story is set in Florence at Mistress Mirandolina's Tavern. It features Daniela Bruera and Teresa Matlova and Elena Traversi and Massimiliano Tonsini and other people you've never heard of. There you go. I mean, Martinu just churned out these things, and they are worth hearing. I say many times. This was reviewed, I believe, by Bob Levine at ClassicsToday.com. In fact, let me take a quick peek and just see if it's there. I think it is, and I think he was not dazzlingly impressed by it. But Mirandolina, I liked it more than he did, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see what shows up. Oh, there it is. Let me read you the review. Well, it got an 8. Mirandolina is Bohuslav Martinu's take on 18th century Commedia dell'arte. His Italian was good enough for him to adapt Goldoni's play, La Locanderia, himself, and the opera premiered in 1959 in Prague, and Martinu died, I think, that year. So the score is light and airy, very tonal, and while it's not particularly Czech-sounding, neither is it truly Italian. It is Italian-like, moving along at a conversational scherzo, with occasional real Italian dances or folk songs thrown in. Its opening movements seem more closely related to Strauss's Die Schweigsame Frau and Ariadne auf Naxos, but that having been said, it's only a means of identification. In temperament, it's close to such 18th century intermezzi as La Serva Padrona, although the cast here is larger, as is the orchestra, and the plot is more involved. The downside is that although there are lots of arioso and pretty cantilena, none is long enough to qualify as a real melody. Our sense is of a play in music, which is probably just what Martinu was aiming for. So there you go. I mean, that gives you a pretty good sense, I think, of what the thing is. And if you're a Martinu guy, you want to hear it, or girl, you want to hear it for sure. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was a little more tuneful than Bob thought it was, but, he's the opera guy. He knows. So don't listen to me. Anyway, keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care. There's lots more Martinu to come.